Yeah. Holocrons glow, wisdom of the old school. Sith lords rise, playing by no rule. Mandalore's mask, war drums they pound. Jedi lost in shadows, no peace to be found. A more civilized age, where legends were born. Sabers clashing bright through the galactic storm. From the core to the rim, where the tales engage. In the echoes of time, a more civilized age. Thrawn's blue skin, mind sharper than blades. Art deciphered, spotted G's invade. Mara Jade with a vengeance so cold. Turned from the Emperor, her own past she strode. A more civilized age, where legends were born. Sabers clashing bright through the galactic storm. From the core to the rim, where the tales engage. In the echoes of time, a more civilized age. Rakatan ruins, tech older than dreams. Force flows deep in the galaxy streams. Lost tribes rise, the Sith reclaim their might. The balance wavers in the endless fight. Yushan Vong, invaders from the void. Biotech horrors, whole worlds destroyed. Anakin Solo, a hero to the grave. Sacrificed it all, the galaxy he'd save. Yeah. A more civilized age, where legends were born. Sabers clashing bright through the galactic storm. From the core to the rim, where the tales engage. In the echoes of time, a more civilized age.
All right, welcome to a more civilized age, live from Dallas.
That's right.
Yeah,
And the crowd goes wild.
Now, how we got 200 people to fit all in this tiny room,
You know,
I have no idea. I have no idea.
we weren't sure how many people were going to show up. We can't believe 2,000 people made it out here.
200, I meant 2,000.
Exactly.
There's so many people here. It's huge. Some people say the biggest podcast ever. Welcome to a more civilized age. As you see, we are live in person here. He's real.
I'm real.
He's real.
I'm real. Of course, I'm
Matthew
real.
Wilson, Ryan Kennel, thank you for coming. Geeks Attic, good to see you. Good for you to be here. People banging down the door to get in.
Yeah, people banging down the door to come in here.
Our bouncer letting people. You can keep it open a little bit because there's when you got 2,000 people in one room, it's going to start cooking.
Exactly.
Lots of stuff to go over today. First off, I want to talk about the big one that we got to do was the fundraiser, Twin Sons fundraiser. We just did that. Just came back from that this afternoon. What a joy. Big applause for Brian Borg there and Twin Sons. Yeah, a lot of fun. Gentlemen, your thoughts on how the event went?
It was great. Obviously being familiar with Twin Sons Foundation for so long and what they do, even before we started this podcast 6 years ago, apparently, which we just got the word on that. It's almost 6 years since we started this,
Next month will be 6 years.
which is kind of crazy. We got to do a special October stream to celebrate that, I think.
Yeah.
But knowing what they do is one thing, but going to see it is really cool. And seeing what Twin Sons Foundation has been doing, and I think maybe Brian's right here, so he can correct me if I'm wrong, but I think you guys are up to over 2,000 books donated throughout the history, right? Yeah, so 2,000 books. And for people that don't know, we got to go to a local children's hospital, and they had some cool events. Some people from the 501st who are really nice and really awesome were there. We were setting up, we were making lightsabers for kids. They could, paint Star Wars rocks. And we were, of course, giving away some Star Wars Expanded Universe stuff. And my rule was no Black Fleet Crisis. We weren't going to be allowed to give that one away. That poor child, if they got Black Fleet Crisis, that wouldn't be a good thing. But we had plenty of copies of iJedi, luckily.
I like the kid that picked up the Shaz of the Empire.
Yeah.
Turn to chapter 16, kid. Enjoy.
Oh, yeah.
All right. So
Parental guidance advised for that one. Meg's not here to talk about shadows.
yeah, I know.
So.
We picked and Meg, we miss you. Meg couldn't make it. She's going to auditions this weekend, so she couldn't make it. She wanted to. So Meg, good luck at auditions. We'll see you next month on the stream. That's right. Free bird, I think someone just said there. Okay, so what we got is Geeks Out here. Geeks Out, anything to add on to
It was awesome. I thought it was touching seeing those kids, they walk in the room, see all those guys, the 501st dressed up, which had awesome uniforms. Those things were awesome. But yeah, seeing the smile on their faces, even when they're picking it up and just looking through a novel to try to find the pictures, it's awesome. If they hold on to those books, they'll have a treat later on down the road.
I saw that you saved a child's life. They had Planet Twilight. You went, it's okay. Let me switch this out for you for a.
Yeah. Disappointingly, there was no copies of the Crystal Star.
Yeah.
So
well, that's because someone snatched them up before. Yeah. Okay. Anyway, the kids will need this. I need some. I want to say that it was really fun. It was really touching. Seeing some of the kids, of course, they got the IV bandages. One came in with IV. But this is something special for them
and their families too.
And their families
because
too.
Their families are there. Their brothers and sisters are there. We don't know exactly what everybody's going through or what's going on, but if you're a parent or you have a family member that's gone through that stuff, whenever you have a child who's not doing well for whatever reason, it is stressful. It is awful. You're trying to put on a good face the entire time. And just something like that, just for a couple minutes, 15 minutes, they can have fun. They can do whatever. You can take your mind off all that stuff for a while. And so it was really cool. And I'm thankful that I was able to be a part of it today.
Yeah. It's one of those things where it feels like it really made a difference. Like you said, the families were there. I was at the we were painting flat rocks.
We decided that was probably the best use of your skills there.
And spending time with all the little Picassos. And, one kid was writing the name down. So, oh, is that, your name? No, it's my brother's name. He's here. I want to make him a rock.
Yeah.
So, I mean, it's like, dang, that's so, and so nice. And like you said, it gave him comfort. And I want to say that we're going to have to change your name to RK Heart Post. You going to the little lightsaber table. This guy here, man, taking care of the kids, putting on smiles. That was really nice of you, man. Showing them how the little lightsabers are made. And that's just fun stuff for the kids. But,
Well, I just wanted to make sure they had someone competent telling them what to do. I didn't want them to go home with a messed up lightsaber or anything. But no, it was good. Sure. And shockingly, yes, I can be good with kids.
Yeah,
so.
You were very good with kids. He was making kids smile. He was bringing smiles to them and everything. It was a lot of fun. But of course, those kids were just fun,
Yeah.
It's exciting. Waving at the little guy in the stormtrooper outfit, like, hey, they want to take pictures. It was awesome. Books, everything, fun events. Thank you to the hospital and the 501st. It was just really an overall great experience. Happy to do it. Another awesome experience we all had today was going to a Filipino fast food restaurant called Jollibee's, which was all Ryan's idea.
Okay, that is not the case at all. We're done at the hospital, and I'm like, all right, what are we gonna do? And people are like, oh, we're going to Jollibee's. At first, I thought they said Jolly D's, and I was like, well, that sounds like Matt picked it. And then it's Captain like
D's cousin.
And then it's like, no, it's Jollibee's, but Matt did pick it. And I'm like, what is this? And it's like, it's a Korean or Filipino. It's a Filipino country or like Filipino KFC is basically what it is.
With spaghetti.
Well, hold on. We'll get to that in a minute. But.
So I was like, okay, it's on the way back, whatever. Of all the places we could go in Texas, right? One of the greatest states in this freaking country, Texas. We're not going to go to a steakhouse. We're not going to go to a barbecue joint. We're not going to go for burgers. We're going to go to a chain Filipino fried chicken restaurant. So already I wasn't feeling the vibe. But I'm willing. It's not just about me. There's other people there.
Honest, it's 3:30. It's packed, and the trashes are overflowing because they've been slammed.
I got there first before anybody else did, and I walked in, and I'm like, it literally looks like Filipino KFC. I just sat back. I waited for everybody else to get there. Everybody else gets there. I order my stuff. The cashier's mumbling. I can barely understand what the hell she's saying.
Everyone orders their stuff. I go last, and I get served first.
And like the entire time, I'm just noticing things are wrong. Like you can't find a lid for your cup because they're out of stock. Everybody's drinks was messed up. The people that were getting lemonade were just getting straight up water. I was getting Pepsi and it was flat as hell. It was awful. So everything that went wrong, I said, hey, if you need a lid, just ask Matt. Just because I wanted Matt to know how everyone's stuff was messed up. I ordered first. Matt got his food before me, but we both get up, get our stuff. We get back. I'm sitting there looking at mine. I'm like, okay, they gave me mashed potatoes, but not gravy.
I got the gravy.
Yeah, you had gravy on your plate, but you were also missing your spaghetti.
Jolly sketty.
with hot dog wieners in
with
it.
hot dogs in it.
So I was missing all the sauce for my chicken tenders. And I'm like, just give me your receipt. I go up there. I get his stuff. They're like, oh, we don't have that sauce anymore. Can we give you barbecue or ranch? I'm like, that's fine. Whatever. And so turns out they didn't have that either. They had to go in the back and get a big jug of probably expired ranch to fill up a little cup to give me.
But then his plate comes out.
His plate comes out and he had his chicken tender sauce. So everything was wrong. The food was like very average to below average. It was nothing. We wasted one of our meals here in Texas because Matt wanted to go to some stupid Filipino chain. That is what happened. And they messed up all our stuff.
It was like the Disney World of Manila. That's what it was. And I thought it was fine. I like spaghetti with hot dogs cut up.
I went and got your food that they forgot, by the way. Yeah.
Yeah, he did. Okay, so go ahead.
I mean, it was an interesting experience, but yeah, everything that he said was true. It was okay though. I mean, it was okay. It was different, unique, but yeah, I thought it was funny. The manager's walking around and it's like, anything I can help you with? He's like, I've already taken care of it.
Yeah, thank you. Like, yeah.
It's like, no, it's okay. I took care of it for you.
Yeah. It's I already fixed everything you messed up. Yeah. So.
Yeah, but then we had you
The
think
pie.
you were allergic to peach mango or mangoes.
Mango.
And so the combo came with a peach mango pie, which Adam can testify is made of lava when you bite into it. And we had it sitting out for at least 10 minutes, and it was lava. Okay, but I say, I wonder if we can switch it out with ube pie, the other pie offering. And the question is, what is ube? Continue.
It was.
What did it look like before you tell them what it was?
I mean, it was purple. So I mean, you open up. It's the crust.
ooze.
The crust on the outside, amazing. You bite into it carefully after seeing Adam melt his mouth.
He did.
And I'm like, this is weird looking. And then somebody looked it up, and it was like a potato.
It's a purple yam.
It was eggplant. It's just what it was.
It was like some gelatinous goo with a bunch of food coloring in it. But it was.
I saw Grimace pooping in each one of the baked shells.
Yeah.
So yeah, just purple there. But yeah, I enjoyed it. You did not. You're not with the ube.
No.
Well, the mango would have given you like hives or
I don't know. I
something.
mean, maybe. I mean, I ate a
I didn't
mango
want-
once.
I didn't-
You would have had the full Jubilee experience or whatever the place is called. Like if you had an allergic reaction and died, that would have been the only thing to make it worse.
Made it a
Just
little
going to
more
be
exciting.
honest.
Yeah.
Okay.
Everything is dirty. The bottom of my tray was like dirty and gross when I picked it up. Everything sucked. You're like, it was a unique experience. Was it? It was basically just KFC.
With a side of spaghetti.
Okay. All right. So yeah. Well, I mean, but Isaac and I went to another one called Slice Pizza. And
It's called Spin Pizza.
Spin, excuse me. I
Yeah.
don't know. It was good.
Yeah, I wish I would have gone there. Yes. Wait, so hold on. You're telling me we did that for lunch. We chose where we went for lunch because you wanted to go to this place.
wanted to go.
By
I did
the way, and then you leave while we go to the bookstore, and not 45 minutes later, you are in a pizza place that I told you that I really liked and would like to go back to. That's where you decide to have second dinner or whatever, second lunch.
And see, this is what happens
Bro.
when you're around kids all day being kind. It's just that bottle angst. Like, man, I had to balance it out with some Jollibee.
Yeah.
I thought that little child inside of Ryan was going to come out with Jolly. Did you take a picture with the Jollibee thing in the front?
Didn't feel the need. No. didn't feel the need.
Oh well. Okay. So there you go, Jollibee. All right. So one last thing before we're going to open it up, open mic here, since we're doing this live in front of a crowd here. I did want to talk about a topic that I had planned for Legends Con, and I had this 2 years ago. If anyone doesn't know, 2 years ago when they were going, when it was in California, I was going to go. I was set to go, but work accidentally scheduled me, and I had to pull out last minute, and I was super upset about that. But then coming back again, I was going to keep the same topic, go again. We're going to go live there. In fact, when it got canceled, that's when we started doing the show live. Because originally in March was supposed to be our first live show, and from there we're going to go live. Before then, we just recorded it earlier and replayed it later. But we just went ahead and skipped it. But now this is the chance we're really live here in front of people. So I wanted to do it then, and I wanted to go over it. Well, I looked over the notes. I had not looked over the notes since the very first Legends Con, and what it was is I was going to talk about the Mount Rushmore of EU fans. And if I could put 4 faces up there, which were the most 4 impactful faces? And I looked at my list again, and I removed all of the names of one. Now, not because of anything where I hate this person now, but I just kind of looking at it again, which I did like a few months ago when I know that we had planned this up and we called Brian, and Brian all talked about it. I went back and looked at the list and went, you know what? There's really only one name that belongs here. And they may not think they belong here, but I'm going to say that is Brian Bork of Twin Sons Foundation. And I'm going to say why. And I know you'd react like that, Brian. But what Brian has done for the fandom, he's impacted it. And I think I was talking to you about this earlier. He's impacted in so many ways, because this is one of the best things that the fandom does is when Chuck Wendig made that snide comment when we raised money for the billboard, could have gone to charity. Screw you. But Brian goes, hey, why not? And so it was Brian's hard work that put this charity together.
I wasn't alone.
It was, you weren't alone. You were the main instigator. It was Matt going, yeah, you should do it. And then not lifting a finger afterwards. And it's Brian doing it, and Brian getting it put up, and Brian gets up. And yes, Dylan and Amelia are right up there. If you want to put them up, that's fine too, because that's your core. And then you have a bunch of people in the network. I'm in the network, so is everyone else. But spearheading it is not easy. And not to give too much information about Brian, but Brian is already busy. He has an incredibly hard job where he works longer hours and gets paid just the same. But he works these long hours. He's got a lot to do, a lot going on. Yet he still makes the time to run a very successful charity here in Twin Sons Foundation. And it's very important because I've seen it impacted on a small scale in school libraries where I'm from. I've been able to make a few. And those kids, I've told the story several times, so I won't tell them here, but those kids are very impacted. They get excited about that. And I was like, oh, that's nice. Well, that is nothing on the level of what we experience today.
Yeah.
And how it just, I really saw just the whole event. And guess who put that together? Brian. Yeah, he copied me on the email. And I said, good job, everyone. Yeah, good for me. But Brian was the one that got back connected with, he has the connections. He made the connections, made sure to reach out to 501st. Yes, he has the connections there to work out. He's on good terms with Lucasfilm, getting a place at the table at Celebration every year, going out there, promoting the charity, which is fun, and tying in his love of the expanded universe.
And being able to stay on good terms, like with them, while asking for things that they absolutely hate us asking for. When you go back, when you look at like the billboard, still to this day is like the biggest high profile thing that this side of fandom has ever really been involved in, period. And with that, all the attacks that come along with it, including from people that work at Lucasfilm, including media attacks on whether it's Facebook pages or whether it's the charity itself and things like that. And I'd have to say I agree with you, Matt. No doubt about it.
And you mentioned that. I want to also mention that the billboard came about when some idiot was saying, hey, you know what they did with Surge? They put a big billboard up. And Brian goes, yeah, we can do that. Okay, I don't know the first thing about that. And so Brian goes to work on it.
Yeah. And
I remember going, good job. That was me. I was a cheerleader on the sidelines where he was running in for the touchdown. And not once, but twice we got that successful. And the second time, it was 2 billboards in half the time for, thanks to COVID, 6 months.
Yes.
You know, which was very fortunate for us.
Yeah.
You know, and the Snyder one, I think that one went about 8 months or something. Yeah, but it was great because it was that motivation to go ahead and get it through. And again, I understand a lot of other people came and played, but you were the guy out there coordinating everything. And I really can't think, and you were on my original list, by the way, but looking at the other 3 that I had on there, I was like, that's just not a comparison I can make. So one more time, give it up for Brian Borg.
That's obviously like a good question. And I don't know if I could think of, 4 people, kind of top of my head, whatever. The one person that I would have to put up there, and as much crap as I give him all the time, is Matt. For me, before I ever started a YouTube channel, before anything like that, I was somebody who was, when I heard Disney bought Star Wars, I was hyped because like, man, I've been reading all these books. They're going to be able to do more stuff. They're going to be able to bring these things to life. And then obviously slowly in 2013 and ultimately in 2014, we realized that that wasn't going to be the case, that they were decanonizing the expanded universe, that they were going to go their own direction, all of that stuff. And I, like so many other people, were mad and pissed. I was rolling around in like Facebook pages, Alliance to Restore the Expanded Universe, and all these other different things. But the one person I found talking about it on YouTube was Matt. Now, his videos, the editing was terrible. This dude would walk up. He had no editing skills. He would turn on his camcorder. So the first thing you would see in this video is Matt's hand as he's reaching back from hitting record, and then go, "Hi, folks," and then he'd like go into his spiel about whatever, and then he'd have to go back and turn it off. It was terrible. It was awful. But he was the first person I found that was saying the things that I felt about what Disney was doing. He would come with facts to back it up. He'd talk about this. He'd bring out like old papers and references and stuff like that and show you exactly where this was said and that was said about, well, it was never canon. He would call out that BS. And when I started my channel, one of the first people I reached out to was I sent an email to Matt. Now, part of that was because it's crazy how many things have gone down over the years, to be honest. But at that point, when I started my channel and talked about how much I liked the expanded universe, I had some people that were not happy with me. And they were like, you know, Matt Wilkins is like a big leader in this. He's not going to stand for this. I'm like, I know Matt. Well, I really like Matt Wilkins. I bet I can talk to him. I sent you an email. You sent it right back, which to me meant he had no life because he like immediately replied. And you came on my channel when I had just started it. And we had like an awesome conversation. And from that came a more civilized age. But I know you probably don't want to see yourself that way or acknowledge it that way in the same way that Brian says no to his. But for me, like 1,000%, Matt Wilkins is on the Mount Rushmore of EU fans, and it's not even a debate, period. So,
Thanks.
Come on.
All right.
So
Top
for me,
that.
well, you know, I was going to say like what Brian did at that event today. Like that was incredible.
Yes.
Like I was expecting, oh, we're going to go drop off a box of books and then we're done. Like we made jokes when we were walking into this place, the donation box, like, oh, here it is.
Donation.
Yeah. But like seeing it affect the kids in real life was incredible. Like you're touching kids' lives. It's awesome. I agree with what Ryan said about you. You are one of the first people that I watched when it came to Star Wars. Got me into it. I agree. Your video editing could have used some. Thank you. I'm just.
It hasn't gotten much better, to be honest.
But a person that I would like to add to that list for me is Jeremy from Stupid Chainsaw Productions. Because at the time, whenever I was getting into it, he was always talking Star Wars.
Yeah.
And he's helped me over the years, like with the timeline explanations and just character discussions. He's come on my channel a lot to talk about Star Wars. He just kind of helped me along on my journey with Star Wars. So, yeah.
Yeah. No, he's fun. Talked to him the other day.
Yeah.
Actually. Yeah. So, okay, good. So there you have it there. So thank y'all. We're going to get into questions. And I do have a question here, but he's here.
Should we talk just for a second before we do get into that?
Yeah.
Like, okay, just to like explain how we got to where we are and why we're in the room here.
Yeah.
We were supposed to be doing this at a cool event called Legends Con. At least I think that's what it was supposed to be called. It's so hard to get mixed up. And it sucks that got canceled and everything surrounding it and the way that it happened. But it has been cool because what we said was it's garbage. A lot of people either booked flights and, you know, had to get credit for it, or maybe you were planning on going to a hotel, couldn't get it, whatever. And we were like, you know, for the people that want to, or the people in the Dallas area, let's just do it. Let's do something, hang out, play card games, mess around, go to bookstores, you know, search for some cool books, which we did find.
Yeah, everyone has some cool finds.
Yeah, we got some cool finds, which is awesome. But like, that's why we're here, because we thought we were going to be doing a convention. It wasn't, but it's been cool that we were able to do something and meet more people, or, you know, maybe not the first time I met some of you guys, but it is the first time I met others. So I'm glad we were able to get out here and do this, even if the con kind of fell apart.
Yeah.
which we kind of turned it into another one over here.
Yeah.
I do not respect that.
Warukan. We're Warukan
Yeah, he did this one
from the Crystal Star. Waru.
But
Nobody-
yeah,
no?
they get it. They get it. That's it. But yeah, no, I agree with that because it's cool to meet a lot of you. I was like, oh, who are you on YouTube? And then you give me your YouTube name. I was like, oh yeah, okay, hey, what's up, man?
Yeah.
And so it's good to put a face with a name. It really has been fun. It's one of the things I love is I love meeting new people. The missus asked me, so are you having fun? I said, yeah, I'm meeting all these new people. Well, didn't you talk to him before? Yeah, but I'm meeting them face to face now. Just so much fun. So yeah, to me, it's been just so much fun hanging out.
I can't believe Dave Filoni didn't make it on our Mount Rushmore, by the way.
It's so weird.
Yeah.
Well,
Yeah.
you know, Meg would have picked someone from the Acolyte, but
Don't put that on her.
Nah, no, we love Meg. We love Meg. And let's see. So I'm going to pass it around. Did you want to? I know you don't want to get on camera. Did you want to grab this mic and ask your question off camera? Yeah. All right,
Yeah, we
come
can.
on.
We can take this mic over there
Yeah.
for.
Yeah, go ahead. It comes off the stand.
Yeah, I just don't know if it's gonna.
Okay.
Take
Take
the
it.
camera.
Yeah, there you go. You're good.
Whoa,
No
whoa,
one can
whoa,
see
whoa,
you.
whoa.
Nice
Yeah.
shirt.
Yeah,
You're way off camera. You can come on though.
yeah.
All right. There you go.
There we go. All right. So I've been covering the new Jedi Order. I read it back in the day when it came out. Haven't reread it in like 20 years because back, you didn't have the audio books, didn't have time to like reread it and anything. So we've been covering it in detail. So one thing that I get, so these are the kind of fan debates we used to have.
Hey, where are you covering that, by the way? Just so people
Baby
know.
Chills on Rumble because
There you go.
YouTube, I'm too toxic for YouTube. But and that's saying something when you got Ryan sitting over here. But anyways, so one of the things you get, and these are the kind of fan debates we used to have, is the so-called Denning verse, right? And I know Matt and Ryan, especially, not 100% sure on Geeks Attic, are like huge NJO fans. But at the same time, you guys are fans of Legacy of the Force. Fate of the Jedi, I think everyone can agree is cool, but not as good as those two. But do you guys feel that Denning took over and did all this stuff and subverted characters? Like, I know Vergier's like the main character, right? She's supposedly seen as like a Yoda type character and not a Sith. And they claim that that's like some sort of retcon or something like that. That's just an interesting debate that I wanted to ask you two guys about since you guys like NJO so much and Legacy of the Force.
Look, I think that one thing is clear with authors, and as they've spoken out over time, some authors that work within the universe don't like each other or don't like each other's works. I mean, you look at the way that Zahn treated basically everything Kevin J. Anderson wrote, like it's quite obvious that he didn't like some of these entries or he didn't like the way he used this character or whatever. And you have these people, and I think in any kind of creative space, sometimes that happens and egos get involved. So overall, I think that Troy Denning has done some of the best work we've ever seen. Like when it comes to that and fleshing out these characters post Return of the Jedi, NJO on forward. I love a lot of his stuff. Some of it, it's, not my favorite, the Killick stuff or whatever, right? Not my favorite trilogy, but did he have a lot of input in those stories? Yeah. And I think he got that input because of how well received the work was by fans. So I think it's deserved that he got that. In terms of specific characters, I think whenever you're trying to come up with in a story like Star Wars, where we've like done these things and you don't want to do necessarily the same thing again, can you find some character to be like, we might not have known everything about this. What if we can represent it that she misrepresented herself? And this is really the thing. And that's really how we get to like the Vergier, Jason. Oh, this is who Vergier actually was. Now we can turn Jason this way. And it makes a little more sense. I'm good with it. I like the story. Now, if they had done that and I didn't like what they did, maybe I'd be harping on that. But overall, I just think it's one of those things when you're in this vast world that has so many entries that you're doing to try to think of something that hasn't necessarily been done or a cool way to work that in. But I like Troy Denning. I think that he's done some of the best stuff in the EU.
Haven't read it yet.
I'll just say that everyone has guessed who you are correctly in the chat, and Free Purist is all over here. So there you go, lots of support. I'm just going to harp on what Ryan said. I really feel that even though New Jedi Order to me is like top tier, right? It's my favorite series ever. We both love Legacy of the Force. We've discussed this several times before, why it's so good. But Denning taking over I think he respected the material. He respected the characters. He respected the story arcs. I think the pacing was really well in each one. He knew when to. They never went as dark as New Joe Order because they know there's a lot of the fans gave him a lot of grief over that. I was cheering it on, but everyone else was not. So he but they didn't leave it alone. There were still deaths, of course, but they just weren't deaths for shock value or something like that. Like everyone here knows, Legacy of the Force, big, great death scene, the last book. I've said this a million times. When I opened up the book and read the little quote from Young Jay Knights, I closed the book and went, "Oh, they're going to do it."
Yeah.
Oh, they're going to. And so that was just wonderful, beautiful. In fact, that's one of your favorite books. I remember that.
Yeah, like the Legacy of the Force probably is my favorite series as a whole. I love NJO, and I really like what NJO did to take it in this direction. However, there's 19 books, and sometimes it's like, all right, this trilogy is coming up. Can't wait. You know what I mean? So, but Legacy of the Force is a shorter story. I like what they did with the rotating 3-author thing. And you have some big moments in there and some big deaths. I don't think that death at the end of Invincible is the most controversial death by any means in that series. It's the one that happens in Sacrifice.
It's funny because I love New Joe Order better, but I will admit I think Legacy of the Force stuck the landing so well. It's one of the best endings to a series, and it just feels so great. And of course, Fate of the Jedi, another one. I had someone here say they love Fate of the Jedi. Yeah, we all love Fate of the Jedi. I also love it because Denning. Now, in the past, they've always used references from West End Games material, role-playing material. Denning used to work for West End Games, and he really amplified that. I mean, I love when there's more continuity included. And he took adventures and put them into the story. I think I've said this before, but there's something called the Dark Star campaign, and you're trying to get the codex for this alien race. And then at the end, they disappear and say, "This is not for you, it's for someone else." Okay, and then that's it. Well, what Denning knew about that story, and so what does Luke get in Fate of the Jedi? He meets these Aimti monks, and they give him the codex. Now, how brilliant is this of Troy Denning? Because he knows there's probably tons of people out there who played that adventure, and they can go, "Wow, that was me." Now you're actually included in the story in a way, by giving these adventures a meaning. And it's just another level of continuity we had not seen before. So in a way, it just kept getting better and better, even though New Joe Order is my favorite, but just how the writing got smarter and how it just became more inclusive of all these things. We saw them so in the comic books over time and so in the Marvel comic books over time. But then sewing in adventures and saying, because you did this in your adventure back in 93. Now Luke can have his codex or whatever. And I think that's just beautiful. And of course, I love Troy Denning as well. But my least favorite, I like the Darkness trilogy, but I don't like, and I see a lot of people have love for it here, but Tatooine's Ghost is the one.
Yeah, I'm not a huge fan of that.
I'm not a huge fan of that one. But love it.
I mean, how can you not love Jedi Killick space orgies? You know what I mean? Who can't be down for that?
Well, I like when the crickets chirp, maybe.
Oh, yeah, there you go.
Good question. Thank you. Did you have something to add?
No, I like Tatooine Ghost.
I like Turtles.
Is that like the only Denning book you've read?
Yeah, I think so. Yeah.
Okay. Well, then it's all uphill. I mean, it's all down.
I just thought it was kind of cool, like tying some stuff together.
I just want to point out real quick. I think it's kind of weird though, like especially when we defend like the EU, like and how everything goes through Lucas licensing and all that. How people think like Troy Denning just kind of took it over when he co-authored both those series with Alston and first Karen Travis and then Christy Golden. So I think it's kind of, especially when we break down in detail the NJO, like when you go through the story Bible and all that, and you see like all the input everybody had, and there was a main outline, but at the same time the authors were able to do their own thing and add their own, bring their own characters in and whatnot. So I think it's just, I think it's a little overhyped by the people that claim it's the Dennyverse or whatever.
Yeah, exactly. It's like, well, he was assigned to do it. Like the way this stuff worked, like Legacy of the Force or whatever, is like those three authors got together and they just sat down and they're like, hey, let's lay this thing out. That doesn't just mean that they get to go do it. They obviously had to get clearance for this and clearance for that and permission to do that. But obviously, yes, the authors were like the main constructs of that. It wasn't just Denning.
Exactly.
But yeah. So. Anybody else got a question?
Go, John. Go ahead.
So I'm sure everybody knows about how there's a movement online to have Disney continue the storyline of the expanded universe. And it's pretty safe to assume a lot of people in here don't necessarily trust Disney with anything that they do, Star Wars related, or most anything these days. And so obviously people write fan fiction all the time. But what would y'all think if somebody suggested an idea of creating like a continuation of the legend story, expanded universe story, in a way where it like had curated pictures and a nice presentation, not just like a Word document, maybe with like some red background that's like, kind of like a SWTOR website, or you get where I'm going with that a little bit. And multiple people got together to write a story or arcs and whatnot, and continuing on the legend story. Like have y'all had any ideas about like an official fan continuation?
Yeah. It sounds like a cool idea, but I hate it because I've read a lot of the Disney books. That's where I really started reading Star Wars. Was like what's that one that I liked a lot? What's the first Star Wars Expanded Universe book? Death Troopers.
Death Troopers.
That's it. Death Troopers. Sorry. My mind's blank.
What a weird
sleep
place
very
to
well.
start. I guess it looks cool
Well,
cover though. Yeah.
But yeah, it was
a
just like
separate
it was
age.
the day that Lucas sold Star Wars. I was like, I gotta go get one of the books and see what it's about.
Let's get
And then I
most
fell in love with it.
one ever.
But then when Disney's like, we're gonna redo the canon, I was like, I guess I'll start from the beginning now.
Dawn of the Jedi.
Yeah.
Whoops.
Yeah.
How did you keep reading?
I
Yeah.
don't know. But like seeing how they went with their books, the authors that they chose. I mean, they had some good ones. Some of the books were okay. Some of them were really good, but a lot of them started to really stink. And in the direction they were taking Star Wars, they didn't even know where they were going. But seeing how all of their authors got together, like the New Jedi Order stuff did with the High Republic, it's like they just don't know what they're doing. And I think that it would be a horrible idea. And people say, oh, we could pull up some of the old authors. Well, that's cool, but it's a new publisher. The people in charge of publishing are new, and they're going to push a certain like agenda with their books that a lot of people in the expanded universe
What
don't
I was
care
saying
about.
was that like fans, not like any publishers, but like
I mean, like a
fans would get
fan.
together. And they would make something like it would be a collaborative thing, and then they would make with pictures to go along and like a really nice presentation, not just like a Word document.
I mean, that'd be cool, but I think the big infighting would start with whose story gets canonized.
This is what I'll say. And it's funny because we actually talked about this last night at dinner. I was talking with Brian about this. And when all of this started, that was the big thing. We were asking Disney, we put billboards up asking Disney to continue the storyline. So we got to see Sword of the Jedi. So we got to see what happened in between this and Legacy. So we got all those answers that we wanted. Over the years, I don't think I'm alone in this, but I think we dodged a bullet by not getting that.
Yes.
I think that the people now that are at Lucasfilm, now that they have kind of free reign to do whatever they want, some of the stories that have come out, whether you're talking about the books, the comics, the TV shows, the movies, everything, I honestly think we dodged a bullet. Now, my initial idea was for some of those authors essentially to act as custodians, right? The people who were so influential, especially in the post-Return of the Jedi era, those people, get a couple people, get what's his name from the Darth Bane, Drew Karpyshyn, to do with all the SWTOR and Old Republic stuff and KOTOR, like get a couple people like that to be kind of the custodians to take that expanded universe forward. I just don't think it's realistic anymore for that to happen, period. In terms of fans, I fully support people making their fan projects and doing your fan fiction and stuff like that. The problem is you're just never going to get a consensus. Like you could set up something like that and a couple people could be writing stories, but I could guarantee you that not even all of us in this room would agree on the best direction to take a certain character or whatever. So without the official stamp of like the people who own this IP on it, it doesn't have enough weight that I think you could. Yeah, it just wouldn't work. You know what I mean? So yeah, that's how I feel.
Yeah,
That discussion, that question has been asked a lot over time, the past few years since then. First off, with them continuing Legends, I agree with Matthew and Ryan. They were dodging a bullet and whatnot, the way the direction's gone now. Without George Lucas, you love him or hate him, he drew a line, and he wanted them to walk in a straight line. You know, I think Michael Jordan said it best, even Republicans buy shoes and stuff. So love or hate George, he just said, hey, we're not going to get into anything. We're just going to walk the line. And that's what he did. And I knew once George was removed from that equation, now it's going to go downhill. But I have a little bit more hope than these two that it could happen. But hear me out. Hear me out. I see people going, oh, look out. I'm not going to make it rain, Justin. But anyway, this was the Marvel issue 108.
Yeah.
Like
When it
Star
came
Wars?
out for Marvel, for Star Wars, it was a Legends comic book that came out under the Legends banner. It was New EU. Marvel, for their what year anniversary, 75th anniversary, whatever, they wanted to do since Star Wars had really saved the company, they wanted to continue the original Marvel run for one extra issue. Now, give it, that Marvel series is a Legends story. Now, they had to, it was like pulling
It was a
teeth.
big deal when
Yeah,
that
because
happened.
I interviewed Matthew Rosenberg, who was a writer. He said, look, they didn't want to do it. They fought it. They said, you can put it on, but we're not going to advertise it. And they stayed true to their word. Lucasfilm mentioned it. Brian was at Celebration with a few other people. It was a cliff note and a bunch of announcements. It wasn't like its own announcement. It was just a cliff note of other things to come. It was never really, and it sold like hotcakes. I can't remember, Dylan had the numbers on this, but it was a top seller. They did not reprint it. The comic book store owners were shocked by this. It sold out. They needed more, but there were no more. My comic book guy, I asked for one of each copy, and he called me and said, can I sell your copies? I will order more, but this thing's kind of bigger than I thought. I said, sure, go ahead. So I kept one copy, but I didn't get the two alternate. I don't know. But either way, I thought they did it justice, and they did a little bit of retconning there too, which I thought was neat too. So when I interviewed him on my channel years ago, he's like, yeah, we all love the expanded universe. We all wanted to know this is very special, and we wanted to make it work. We wanted to keep it true to the Marvel comic series, but we also knew there's a lot of, and he said, we're Legends fans too, you know? And so people like that. Now, give it. There aren't that many.
Yeah.
There aren't that many. But if it's put in the right hands, yes, it could. And I completely agree with these two. Like, Geeks and I have to have this conversation more than once. Probably not, right? Probably not a good idea. But to me, when I hear people talk like Matthew Rosenberg and others like that, I feel like Luke Skywalker, there is good in him. It's Darth Vader, but there's something in there. But I don't know if anyone can get it out.
We're going to get Sword of the Jedi, and it's going to turn out that Ahsoka's still alive, and she's going to teach Jaina something.
It's going to be great.
Yeah.
But anyway.
Written by Dave Filoni.
And as for the fan question, I echo the same sentiment as these two. Go ahead and do it, but you're never going to be a consensus. And like Ryan said, even us here are not going to be in consensus of how every character should be written. Every character should be portrayed. Every storyline should unfold. The only way that, in my opinion, that would work if it's someone with authority from the expanded universe, like Michael Stackpole says, hey guys, I wrote a short story about Cornhorn. It is not canon, but I just wrote. Every single one of us in this room would treat it as long as it didn't contradict anything. We treat it as canon because Michael Stackpole wrote it. See what I'm saying? So if it's someone like that, if it's someone with some authority, some weight, and they said, hey guys, these are unofficial stories that by fan fiction. Troy Denning, was saying, I'm going to release some short stories. They're just short stories. They're not. Well, we would all treat that as canon, right? Because he has some authority. But those people, sadly, I don't think aren't, because that's how they make their money. You don't give away free work, right?
Yeah.
So sadly, I don't think that would happen. But if it did, like we treat a lot of the unpublished stuff that, we haven't seen before as canon in a way, as long as it's, completed, doesn't contradict. But it would have to be something like that for it to really take an impact. I am not crapping on any fan who wants to write their own fan fiction, by the way. I'm totally fine with that. But don't be upset when no one outside of your small little group cares to read it, because just most people don't. And I'm not saying all fan fiction is bad. I made a book that collected some of my favorite fan fiction that I think is really awesome. But overall, it's not. It's a great project to have, but you can't have something that's going to unite the fandom under a bunch of. I'm not trying to be mean here. A bunch of no names.
Yeah.
Now, and I'm including me. Matt Wilkins
no,
writes the
that's
fan
fine,
fiction. My friends like it, and no one outside. And then,
Yeah.
there's a bunch of people who won't ever read it. But
Matt is right. Not all fan fiction is bad, but 98% of it is. And
true.
that's just kind of
That's
the
true.
reality. That's just kind of the reality, and like it's kind of the way it should be, right? It's just fans, it's people using their creativity and come up with a cool story or what they think is a cool story. But look, I love Star Wars. I love reading all these books. I don't have a creative bone in my body, right? So if I tried to write something, it would be shit. Like it just would be, because that's not like a talent of mine. It never has been.
put this on a T-shirt. I don't have a creative bone in my body. Says the largest YouTuber in the room. All right.
I'm just saying.
He would have come up with lines like "somehow Palpatine returned."
Yeah,
Those are the types of lines.
exactly.
I think that's what he said, right?
Yeah.
Somehow. he
So by
returned.
my count, we still have like one spot left on the Mount Rushmore. You think we could like give it to Dave Filoni's dog for all the sacrifices he's had to do all these years?
Well, look, there is no doubt that Dave Filoni's dog lives in an eternal pit of damnation. Okay, we know, like, all you'd have to do is like watch Dave Filoni's stuff for long enough, realize this strange fetish he has for wolves and dogs. You have to know that poor pupper has been through a lot. However, I don't know how that serves the expanded universe. I'm not quite sure. But I do think that we could maybe do some kind of in memoriam for, Dave Filoni's dog. So, yeah, I think
What work in particular that shows that dog stuff?
Dave Filoni is obsessed with dogs and wolves. If you watch like Rebels and stuff like that, you can see the clear things. He's always wearing wolf stuff. His name, his character in The Mandalorian is called Trapper Wolf. So he's got kind of a fetish. They were riding. Yeah. And Ahsoka, yeah.
And Ahsoka and Trapper got married, had babies. It gets kind of weird again. Go down that road.
He recently branched out to doing like frogs because in the Bad Batch they introduced a frog character. Yeah, but anyway.
Okay.
Go ahead.
So anyway, so to sort of sort of like a segue from that to this, another Dave Filoni question. So it's been it's been a repeated sentiment amongst expanded universe fans that that TCW is, I'm being very generous to say this, it's a super divisive show for a ton of reasons. And a lot of people argue that it should be removed from the expanded universe and exist solely in Disney canon. Now, whether that happens officially or unofficially, do you think it is safe and easy to remove, or do you think we just have to accept that it's baked into the EU and we just kind of like need to deal with it anyway?
I mean,
It's actually a good question. Go ahead.
what other books was Ahsoka in? Was she in any of them other than the Clone Wars novelization?
No, she was in No Prisoners. Was that it?
There was a handful of like Wild Space or like those.
And then some young adult books.
Right.
Some young adult books,
Okay.
some comics.
Now
A lot of comics.
the area where you have the most problem, it would be nice to just be like clean separation. TCW's fake and gay didn't happen, right? But where you run into that having the biggest problem is Fate of the Jedi, right? Because Fate of the Jedi, like, although TCW did bring so many problems and they tried to rectify them, one of the things they utilized that for was the Mortis arc and the introduction of Abeloth, and like
She's connected to the Mortis
she's
gods.
completely she's connected to that, but like that whole, not just Ahsoka, but the storyline itself, and Luke reading these things about Obi-Wan's report about him and Anakin and Ahsoka, and talking about the father, the son, and the daughter, like all of those things, the dagger, like all of that stuff is now fully woven into the Fate of the Jedi series. So it's kind of impossible to get it out. If that makes sense.
Yeah, and real quick, super chat here, and I'm going to let you answer here. But it says SWA for $20. The first 6 movies and the expanded universe will always be the true George Lucas canon. Currently reading Annihilations. Thanks for all you do, keeping the EU and true Star Wars alive. Thank you, SWA. And then now for Geek Static.
I mean, I don't know. I look at some of I look at some of these books, and if I don't like it, I mean, I'll keep a headcanon. I'll be like, yeah, that didn't happen.
Yeah.
Then I move along.
I think that the
Ahsoka
way,
doesn't exist for me.
well, that what a freaking world to live in. I think that most people who really dislike TCW just kind of in general feel that way. They just kind of disregard it. But like I said, when you get to Fate of the Jedi, that's the one place where you really can't, just because it weaves in the Mortis arc with the main plot of the story and the main enemy, and even like continuing on, right? Because that is like at the end of Fate of the Jedi, you send these Jedi out to search. They're looking for answers to this because they're worried Abeloth is at some point going to come back. They're looking for the Dagger of Mortis, all that stuff. So that potentially could even have a role to play in the unwritten future of what the EU is going to be.
Yeah, and I agree with everything you said. There's too much woven into it. And I mean, you don't have to love it all. Obviously, I don't. I just did rewatch where I kind of went through each episode. We're not all Isaac who has dreams of Clone Wars being the best thing ever. So we appreciate him coming onto our channel and just waxing pine on it until Ryan comes and just tears him apart.
I was very nice about it.
Okay, so anyway, and then someone here mentioned Mandalorians are not pacifists. But again, what happened to the EU? Remember, there was an article they did about New Mandalore, and it was on the website for the longest. Shortly after that came out, and they knew there was a little fan outrage by that because he had just totally rewritten everything that Mandalore stood for. But what did the EU? They had to come in with a retcon. But what it said was that they were trying to change their image, right? And they tried to do this new world that didn't work, and then reverted back to their old ways. Now, historically, we have seen that happen before. You're trying to erase the past here to make it things that not so, or trying to erase your past, live under a new civilization, trying to change your identity. It didn't work. And yes, it's a stretch when it comes to Mandalorians. They're in this peaceful society, but at the same time, they were able to make a retcon of it. And the whole thing, in my opinion, was also retcon. I did this, and I'm going to mention Scott here in a minute, but there was in Force and Destiny, there's a reference to remember the Clone Wars, like war reels is how they were played at the beginning. Yeah. And it has a guy wondering why certain things were changed. He wondered if Compnor purposely changed history on this. Now, there's two different ones here. I talked to him when it just came out. I went to Fantasy Flight Games. Jeremy from Stupid Chainsaw Productions and Dylan were with me. And I was like, hey, is this a retcon? And they're like, that's a good way to interpret it. Now, they're being cheeky. I don't think they had permission to actually retcon that. But obviously, that's what it was. But I kept saying, no, come on. It's okay. I'm for it. He goes, it's a good way to interpret it. Now, that's all they would leave us with. We were happy about that. However, a year or so ago, I think Scott asked about it. Yeah, and now they're like, no, it had nothing to do. We hate Legends. I didn't say like that, but now it's like total hard stance against it. But I totally believe they told you that, but I'm going to believe mine because back then, fan relations with Legends weren't really, because the new movie Episode 7 hadn't come out yet, and they didn't realize we weren't going to just slobber any scraps they gave us back then. So they were still playing nice, and I believe what they were saying to me, even though it probably wasn't something that got checked by Lucasfilm, but they did put it in there as a nice little retcon for the Clone Wars. So you could always use that reference as well. But yeah, good question. It does, yeah.
And I do have one follow-up question. I'm sorry, Matthew. Did you want to answer?
Nope.
Okay. All right. Anyways, I do have one. I didn't mean to cut you off there. I do have one follow-up question. So it's sort of related to what I asked. Do you think it's feasible that if we were to do away with it, do you think it's feasible that we could reprint books that contain TCW references and essentially scrub them or replace them? Like a good example is that in the Plagueis novel, Palpatine goes to Dathomir, which we all know Dathomir doesn't have spaceports. He goes to Dathomir, finds Maul's mother, and she says, here, please take my boy 4,000, finds him. Do you think it's possible we could reprint that book and have like a section where Palpatine travels to Iridonia and finds Maul as an orphan boy, for example?
I don't think it's very realistic overall. Now, like I said, I think that for the most part, little onesie, twosie things like that can pop up. For the most part, to me, like just off the top of my head, the biggest impact is just Fate of the Jedi. Whereas, yeah, TCW contradicts so much stuff that happens in the Clone Wars novels that we have, but not like not too many things then reflect a TCW reference within them, in my mind at least. So I just don't see like the need to do it. I don't see there being a big push to do it. And ultimately, the time's passed for any of these things to happen. You know, I just don't think it's going to happen.
I would rather it be just a retcon.
A pre-Filoni, post-Filoni. That's a good way to look at it.
Yeah.
Not
There
too
you go. All right,
complicated.
thank you.
Yeah.
Does anyone else have one? Pass around. Yeah, come on.
Thank you.
I'll do one. As someone who grew up on prequels, and like a lot of my expanded universe reading was Clone Wars related, kind of pre-Return of the Jedi era expanded universe. I haven't dug deep in like NJO Legacy of the Force. I'm passing familiar with it. How do you guys kind of reconcile some of the like stuff that was written before the prequels, though? That like the kind of different thoughts about what Jedi were, and just like the lack of knowledge of the prequel era from George.
I mean, I thought there's some weird stuff in there. I mean, what are those? The Bantam books, right? Or
Well,
primarily with those.
Yeah, there's first off, there's the question about, was it 10 years? Oh yeah, 10 years, 20 years since the Clone Wars happened. Now the thing is, though, what was Timothy Zahn told by George Lucas?
Sure, totally.
And so it was George Lucas who kind of changed his mind from 10 years ago or a few years ago. He said, oh, well, now the Clone Wars take place here. And they had to readjust. I can't remember, they were talking about Galactic Standard Time was mentioned different. I mean, that's very weak. They just put a little bandage over that crack there. I don't mind stuff like that because that came from George, and then George changed his mind, and they had to make do with what was best. And I'm assuming you're talking more about the time crunch and how Jedi were done, because we were told. But again, he was when Timothy Zahn sat with him and talked for a few minutes. One of the things discussed was what the Jedi were like, what they're like now, where they're now. And so George again had changed his mind.
Right.
And those couple of years while writing the new books, he goes, oh no, now they're going to have this now. Because when he was asking about Jor Sabaoth and the Jedi and what would it have been like, it was painted in a different picture. So that's unfortunate, but something they had to adjust with. And they did actually do a nice retcon about it. They had that special sect of Jedi that did teach people when they were older, and they kind of, again, bandaged it, but they had no choice because George was the one that changed their mind. And so if anyone says, oh, well, that's an EU contradiction, actually, that's a George contradiction that they had to adjust for and pivot for.
We were just talking about that with Clone Wars, right? Like George creates.
Yeah, George has this idea. He hands
George
it off.
giveth and George taketh.
Yeah, George has this idea. For some reason, he wants to do this. Hands a lot of power off to somebody else. And yeah, he reviews them and stuff. But yeah, obviously, George changing his mind. I think that for a lot of those things, me personally, I have some grace for it. And ultimately, does it cause some conflicts? Yes. So, mentioning the Clone Wars 50 years ago, well, actually, it was only 20 or whatever, right? To me, when you read it now, if somebody reads that in 2025, they might be like, well, that's a little bit weird. But I don't think it's story breaking. I don't think it's the end of the world or anything like that. Yeah. Do you have problems where there's no way that Corran Horn's grandfather could have been a Jedi during this time unless he had a kid when he was 8 and his dad had a kid when he was 8 or whatever, right? There are things like that because of that don't line up or don't make sense. I think for the most part, it's fairly like few and far between. I do think in general that one of the things that George did really well when it comes to that was he had a lot of things that were off limits for writing about. So you might have a reference, you might have a timeline, but they don't dig too deep into what exactly that means. So I think by giving those kind of guardrails over what you can and cannot talk about, it left it easier for him to change his mind, as he probably knows he himself does all the time. So ultimately, I do get what you're saying, and I get complaints from people. I don't think it's the end of the world, but yeah. We got to catch up though. Read some post NJL, just like this guy here.
For real.
Yeah.
Like I read Zahn, and then it was like, I don't know if I should keep going or what.
I hear you.
Good question. An extra E on that C because that's how special it is. C. Okay.
Maybe you just want to use all that $2. Want to get all the characters worth.
Anyone else with a question? We got
no.
double dipper. Let's go.
Can you hand that?
We did get a hashtag free purist.
Awesome.
It was from Blue Eyed Scorpio, so it doesn't really count.
Scorpion, yeah.
So I'm going to expand because that was actually a really awesome question about like the Bannerman and all that. I'm going to expand a little bit. If it takes Bane of the Sith to Jedi versus Sith, which I think like has some cool concepts, but it's kind of goofy, right? If it takes from that to get to the Darth Bane trilogy, I think little continuity tweaks aren't worth it. You know what I'm saying? Like at the end of the day, that's more of like a gotcha. Look, there's not 100% continuity kind of thing that people are trying to do. So that's all I would add. Like, don't let that like detract you from reading more post Return of the Jedi because there's like so much awesome stuff in there.
Yeah, and I think that. And most of the stuff most post Return of the Jedi stuff, even though we did have a lot of things in the Bantam era, the things that I think hold the most significance long term are all things that were written either while the prequels were in production or like after. You know, when you look at NJO, when you look at Swarm War, or when you look at Dark Nest trilogy, when you look at Legacy of the Force, Fate of the Jedi, all that stuff. So that was when they already like had those changes, weaved in, and so you don't really have anything there for the most part. And it actually, I think they actually do a really good job of weaving prequel stuff into it. And, now is this a little bit cheesy? The fact that Luke just happens to discover these recordings that R2 happened to have hidden away on some freaking hard drive somewhere of Padme and Anakin like arguing what we saw in Revenge of the Sith a little bit. But also they weave it in there, and I like that stuff. So,
I mean, isn't there like a story out there that all these stories are coming from a droid anyway?
Which one?
Just like all the Star Wars, it's like, oh yeah, that's from the archives of the droid. Or am I just making that up? Or just somebody told me that?
It sounds like you read the official fan fiction website. I don't know. I'm sure somebody could have said that before.
I don't know. I'm just thinking like these little contradictions. We see like some droid with like PTSD and mixes things up, and like, oh yeah, sure, that happened.
And yes, it is purist. And I'm going to just go ahead. He doesn't want his face on camera, but folks, I'm just going to tell you, spitting image of Jason Momoa. I mean, we're talking about height, hair, eye color, physique, tats. When he first came in, I thought Aquaman had entered our studio, and it was just Star Wars Marvel pure. So if you want to know, if you want me to paint a perfect picture of what he looks like,
especially when he said,
my man. That's right. He came in saying that, which was it's kind of weird. And the Kool-Aid man busted through here earlier was like, oh yeah, but he does the other thing. But anyway, all right. So I'm sorry.
So I got a real quick question: if Lucasfilm did give permission to continue the EU and promised not to influence the storytelling, so we had free reign, and one person was to be put in charge of that, potentially one of the older authors, who would you put in charge of it?
Are you asking because you would put James Luceno in charge?
Yes, that's correct.
Yeah. It wouldn't be bad.
For me, the people that I would look at and say like that is acceptable would be like Denning, Luceno, Stackpool. Karpyshyn, I love what Karpyshyn did and like all the stuff that he built out. I don't know how much he knows or cares about things post. So that's a little bit like tough for me to just say him 100%. However, in my experience with him, for most things, it seems like he has a ton of respect for all the worlds that he lives in and works in. So I probably would put him on there. But those are the couple that I would say, if you told me them, I'd be good with it.
That's fair. It would depend on the era, right?
Yeah. And that's why my idea was like get a council of authors to all have their little expertise over different, stages of the story.
I would agree with Denning. I would also shockingly add John Jackson Miller. And I want to say something because you've read the Batman book. I've read the Batman book. Have you read the Batman book that he wrote that ties in the two Michael Keaton movies?
No.
Adam read it.
It is so, it ties in continuity-wise perfectly the two films. And it just shows, again, he has so much attention to detail and wants to, really explain things, wants to really make these fans happy. The fans of these movies. If you're a fan of the Michael Keaton movie, I'm sorry, what's the name of it again? Batman Resurrection. Batman Resurrection. There's a new one out
Batman
now.
Revolution.
Or it's coming out.
Yeah,
Is it
next
out?
next month.
Okay, there's another one coming out. Revolution's coming out next month. Which, yeah, I'd love to read. But when I was reading this, I was like, oh, this feels like the third movie. The set in between, and it really does honor those fans who love those movies. And so seeing that and knowing what he's done before, besides Knight Errant, I think he's batting 1,000 with. I love Kenobi. I think Kenobi's fantastic. And Knights of the Republic is some of the best comic book writing out there. So I'd probably add that one surprisingly for me. And I wouldn't have said that prior to, but looking what he's done with other IPs, I think I'd kind of trust him. And
Did he do
unfortunately,
the?
she's passed away, but Vonda M. McIntyre would be my other.
Did he do? Did he do the Lost Tribe? Did he do the Lost Tribe of the Sith?
He did
Collection.
He did, but I'm not gonna. I don't think those are that good. Remember, those
Yeah.
are free short stories. And
Yeah.
what am I going to complain about something free?
Well,
Yeah.
I mean, I would, but yeah.
I mean, yeah. All right, so go ahead.
Yeah, James Luceno would be awesome.
Yeah.
That Drew Carpathian, he was one of my favorites too with the Bane trilogy. Put both of them in charge. Let them write all the books. And John Jackson Miller would be great too. Like,
Well, just after I read Batman Resurrection, I was like, wow, this is really good. And I've liked him before, but I never really thought of him something like that. But I think he would do it honor and justice, and for the fans, make sure it's something they would enjoy. But yeah, good question. Any other questions? Yeah. Go ahead. There you go. You go next.
I read all the books in the 90s, and so I'm starting over, and so I'm up to Allegiance. So I don't, all the new Jedi Order stuff y'all are talking about, I haven't even touched yet. So is there anything you guys can suggest, a different order, or what's your favorite book, or should I just chronologically go through?
If you're up to Allegiance, which means you're basically up to the movies, essentially.
Yeah.
If you're all the way up there, I would probably just keep doing it. No, I think there's a couple things you can skip, but like I would get to the X-Wing series. I'd read Rogue Squadron. I think Rogue Squadron takes you up to the Zahn trilogy, and then Wraith Squadron's right after that. So once you get to like Rogue Squadron, you can like read that, and then the Zahn trilogy, which sets you up for everything post Return of the Jedi. And then you start flying through them, and then you get to the rest of the X-Wing novels. You get to Jedi Academy, which then gets fixed by iJedi.
Anyway.
But yeah, and then once you start getting that, and once the solo children are around, and it's, to me, my favorite stuff is post MJO. It's always been my favorite. So,
And I think it just ramps up. It gets better and better, showing the right track. Personally, as someone who's reviewed the expanded universe in chronological order as best I know how, I did a reread. Well, then I wanted to reread it because I didn't reread it in chronological order either. I said, well, what would happen if you did? So I did, and I personally, you're on the quest already. I agree with Ryan. Just go ahead and continue. I would never tell someone to read in chronological order because I think Dawn of the Jedi is you start off on one of the worst books.
Okay. I didn't go back that far.
Don't then. Just keep going.
I started at Star's End.
Oh, okay, yeah. Well, Dawn of the Jedi is one of the worst. It's in my top 10 worst books. Still to this day, it's just so terrible. And if someone wanted to read in chronological order, I'd be like, please don't. I want you to keep you as a fan. So, but of course, and they're not all hits, So you take the good with the bad. But I believe the story does progressively get better. So
yeah, when I started, it was a random book, Death Troopers, and then I was like, oh, I got to go in some sort of order. I started with the New the New Republic era, and then I thought, I want to go back and start over, which was a huge mistake. I wish I would have finished the New Republic era and then bounced back to some things. But I'm still working my way through, trying to get to the New Jedi Order, and also finish some gaps in between where I started with the New Republic. But I would just keep going.
Yeah. All right, good question.
I know you were showing us like an AI generated video of some random thing, and it actually looked kind of good. How long do you think before we can like feed the entire PDF for one of these books into AI, and it'll give us something that's actually like okay? And then even then, assuming Disney doesn't like kill your family and then not let you sue them, like what do you think about that? And like AI doing stuff, because I know some people have been saying like, oh yeah, you use AI, and then there's this other guy that's like doing the Heir to the Empire anime, and he started using AI, and everyone like started yelling at him, and so he undid it and all that.
I think, look, I think that AI, much like social media or any technological advancement, has some awesome elements about it and some absolutely horrible elements about it. I think the idea that I sitting like at my house could feed like the text from star by star into some generative AI program and it would spit me out like a movie or something about it is one of the coolest things I can possibly imagine.
Yeah.
What I wouldn't want is that to become how people make entertainment, right? Because I know that they're going to be like mispronouncing names or something's going to be weird or messed up or whatever. And like, I love it for like our own personal use type of thing. But in terms of that being like the new normal for the way that we like consume entertainment without any real human element is scary and I don't like it. You know, so I think that's why you see these differences, right? Because people do think it's cool. Look, I can generate a meme of Jimmy Kimmel crying or whatever. Hey, that's awesome. I love that. But AI is like so much different than that. And look, YouTube is an AI slot fest right now, from AI generated shorts to total AI generated lore videos where people are just posting like hundreds of hours of content a day with no idea what they're talking about, with mistakes all over, with mispronunciations everywhere. I hate it. I hate the AI slop and what it's done to YouTube. So I don't know.
I agree with everything he says. But Adam shared a little AI video with me.
I was going to mention that. Go ahead.
Luke Skywalker's talking to Darth Bane. It's kind of neat, but the problem with it, like, they don't have any emotion when they're talking. So
it's basically like from the end of Mandalorian season 2.
The computer doesn't know how to generate real emotion and power in the words that they say. It's just not yet.
Yeah, it's gonna be a double-edged sword. I agree with Ryan. I think you're gonna see some really neat ideas by fans who know what they're doing and create things. We've already seen some little fan films and projects of Batman versus Predator. No, it's Batman versus the Alien or whatnot. Yeah, that old fan film a long time ago was really awesome. You're like, wow, who'd give this guy $1 billion to make a movie? And so I think you're also going to have very creative people use AI properly. You're going to see probably a mix of that. It's going to help improve fan films with adding that realistic aspect as we get better with special effects too. You know, but also there's going to be some schlock out there, and more schlock than good. But in the hands of some good creative people, you're going to see some awesome stuff coming out. But I agree, there's just going to be a lot of junk you're going to have to deal with, and so double-edged sword. Good question. Yep.
Yeah. Did anybody else have one? That's my second.
Yep. Go ahead.
So one of my favorite parts about Star Wars is the storyline of the prequels and Palpatine controlling both sides of the conflict and, you know, destroying them and using them to achieve his larger goals. And, you know, Luke has talked a lot about anthropology and, you know, relating real world events in his work. So I wanted to ask, what are some of y'all's favorite themes in the Star Wars stories, not just the movies, but in some of the books? Like, are there some books that are like Palpatine's storyline and the prequels, or anything else that you guys liked of that nature?
Awesome.
Let you guys go first.
Good. You can.
I mean, the Darth Plagueis book was awesome. I think everything that Plagueis was doing, or not Plagueis, Palpatine was doing, I loved seeing him play both sides. Like, that darkness, like, you look at the real world events that we have today and how, these political people can have all this power and you never know when they're telling the truth. That's the most realistic book to me.
For myself, there's when X-Wing Rogue Squadron first came out, I was like, oh, they're going to make a book without the top 3. Yeah, good luck with that.
Yeah.
Good luck with that. Yeah, Wedge. Yeah, we all love Wedge. He shot the Death Star, and what did he say? Yeah, nothing. But we know it because he's seen it. And I thought, what a terrible idea. And those are some of the best series out there. And they did it, for the most part, without using Jedi, which is so essential when you think of Star Wars. But then it got me thinking, you know what? I want to see more books about regular people, pilots or whatnot like that. And you don't need the Force to have a good Star Wars story. That's kind of weird because the Force is, what Star Wars is kind of all about. But X-Wing kind of showed me a different path, and seeing in a way, the everyday man, if that makes sense and everything. And I was like, dude, I want to see more of this. I want to see more of not my favorite three characters, Luke, Han, and Leia, but do something else. So for me, that was just a big eye opener, and something that it got me curious. Say, hey, what is, I don't know, the staff at Jabba's palace do when he's not around? Maybe not, but you know what I mean. Just something outside of Jedi versus Sith. Which I'll be honest, I was a big naysayer when that book came out, and I'm like, dude, this is one of the best series ever. So for me, that was a big one.
Yeah. So what makes Star Wars so great is not because there's a lightsaber, or because you have the Force, or because a spaceship in a space battle. It's about the characters and their arcs and how you connect with them, right? And so for me, that's what it's about for the expanded universe. When you have a character like Jason Solo and you see what he goes through from his birth all the way to where we are in the story now in the end of his story, and you see him change, you see him succeed, you see him fail, you see all these things happen. The relationship that different family members have with each other, the struggles that Han goes through in New Jedi Order, and then what brings him back to his family right when they need him, and then what they have to go through with another tragedy. The idea that Wraith Squadron, even less than Rogue Squadron, even lower tier than Rogue Squadron in terms of the importance of these characters, you could have a scene on a faraway planet with Face and Ton Fannin that is maybe one of the most heartbreaking things we've ever read in Star Wars. And it's just because of a friendship that those two share. So for me, that's what it's all about when it comes to the characters. The reason I care about these stories is because I care about the characters. Getting to see Fate of the Jedi when you get finally Ben is old enough to really be like kind of a true character in and of himself. He's a young man now, not just kind of a kid. And you get to see him and Luke bonding over that time, even with kind of the shared loss that they have. Like, that's the kind of stuff that keeps you reading, not because you're looking to see how James Luceno is going to describe how weird Plagueis's eye sacs are or something, right? That's not why we read. We read because of the characters, in my mind. So
yeah, good question. All right, we're going to stop there because someone has to stop by Jollibee before he goes home for the day.
That is not me.
That is Geek Static here.
I get some more of that spaghetti.
Have some Jolly Sketty before you go hit the road. So that's it for now. Thank you for everyone for your questions. Thanks for these two for being here. Again, Brian, Twin Sons Foundation, great event here. And everyone, a great meetup. So that's it for now. YouTube, thanks for being here. We'll see you later on A More Civilized Age.
Yeah.